It is now official that Vodafone has joined Uganda's telecom market. To the voice and data users, however, the quick question is whether the expected resultant competition will lead to better prices. But that's a topic for next week. This is Money Matters. Coming up on the show, mobile commerce-related fraud. What you need to know. Delayed oil production licenses, the view of the players, and exploring savings clubs as good source of investment funding. Cooperative societies are touted as critical tools for resource mobilization and the bolstering of primary production. Now, East African Farmers Federation has taken the case for cooperatives at regional stage. Honorable Mike Sebalo is a member of the East African Legislative Assembly and is a man working with the Federation to have a regional cooperative law actualized through the Regional Assembly.
Now, for starters, I know you've been quite passionate about the East African Cooperative Society Bill, and you're among the people actually that are pushing for this to happen. Briefly tell us what is entailed in this bill.
Thank you very much, Charles. First of all, I'd like to thank you for hosting me. This is a prestigious program, so being part of it is something to write home about. So I'm glad that I'm here.
Thank you.
And I think the choice of this topic for this particular program is very relevant, because at the end of the day, why I did undertake to move this bill. Actually, I'm not just one of the movers, I'm the prime mover. And what I can say was the driving motive behind this bill is that we are in the integration agenda. And this integration agenda is unique in that this time around we do have a paradigm shift. Hitherto before we were pursuing an integration agenda that was more of leader-led. Yeah. But in the wisdom of our leaders, the members of Summit and those that pursued the agenda of giving the integration of East Africa another shot, they brought quite a number of interesting innovations on board, and one of them is an integration arrangement that is people-centered. We have about 140 million people, and I would want to believe that over 100 million in one way or another are influenced or survive basing on primary production. So in our wisdom and in the wisdom of the Eastern African Farmers Federation, they had a dream, and they really wanted to come up with a piece of legislation to regulate cooperatives, which is a major stakeholder within that farmer organization.
But moving forward, what's the level of engagement between you, especially the mover of this, and the partners you're working with, that is East African Farmers Federation, with the primary beneficiaries of this bill, the people that are going to benefit out of this? And I mean, I'm sure you've done some homework on that kind of thing.
Yes.
And what kind of reception or indication of reception are you getting from the intended beneficiaries?
First of all, I just want to say that this law is unique because most of the laws that we make are initiated by the executive. Yeah. You'll appreciate that lawmaking is primarily an executive function. Parliament can make the laws, but the initiation is the responsibility of the executive, and in our case it is the Council of Ministers. But this law is unique in that it is a demand-driven law. Yeah. This is a law that was demanded and that was initiated by the beneficiaries themselves through the Eastern African Farmers Federation. They had done some research, they had reviewed existing pieces of legislation in all the 5 partner states, the policy frameworks that are available, and they found a gap in terms of regional engagement and regional intervention within the broad spectrum of cooperatives. So I just want to say that, one, the reception was overwhelming. 2, the level of engagement with the partners is excellent.
Good.
And we are moving very well.
Very good. Well, now let's look at the realities within East Africa. Because on the ground, all East African countries have some form of a cooperative movement or initiative going at one point or another, but we are at different levels of development. How easy or hard have you found it, to harmonize the different laws across the 5 East African countries and then be able to push in the same direction?
Yeah, what is happening is that we appreciate that each and every partner state has got a legal regime that regulates cooperatives. Yeah. And our intervention is not so much necessarily going to radically affect the national legislations.
Okay.
Because what we are doing is to go above the national. Because if there are provisions in the national, then it doesn't really make much sense duplicating them in a regional law. So what we are bringing is a law that now tends to focus more on the regional connectivity.
What opportunity does a piece of legislation like this bring to the region's business people?
Now, the cooperatives have been found to be a business model.
Yeah.
Cooperatives are a business model that can help transform primary producers and make them more competitive and make them more globalized in the way they do things. Because it is now going to redefine the role of the cooperatives or the role of the primary producers in the value chain. And that is extremely important, because then we are going to see cooperatives engaged, pooling resources that could not be done by an individual, pooling resources to be able to engage the value chain in terms of value addition. So we are looking at it as an opening for East African primary producers to actively take advantage of the common market to begin with, but also of other markets outside the region by coming together, pooling resources and engaging business, engaging primary production from a serious business perspective.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Government now says production license agreements for Tallow and Total will be issued and signed by the end of this year. That's to harness the current 6.5 billion barrels of crude. Energy and Mineral Development Minister Irene Muloni says the stage will now allow for a faster implementation of the front engineering design to tap into the refinery and pipeline. However, a cross-section of the sector players argue that delayed producing of licenses places Uganda's key resource at a disadvantage.
Energy firms Tallow and Total may secure their much-treasured oil production licenses by this December, according to the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Irene Muloni.
The companies have to give us a work program, how they are going to develop the fields, how they are going to extract that crude from the ground. As a country who owns the resource, we want to extract as much crude out of the ground as possible. So they have to come and show us and tell us that this is the technology we are going to use. Out of what is in the ground, this is the amount that we are going to extract, and we want as much as possible.
There has been concern from such sector players over the urgent need to commercialize the 6.5 billion barrels of crude oil present after successful exploration activities.
The date will be what it will be. Once we've finalized the FEED, the front-end engineering design, we can then determine the actual date. At the moment, we are on target to ensure that the right development happens. We identify what designs we need. We identify what fields, what flow lines. So there are a couple of things which we need to work on.
Various issues also emerged during this year's annual Energy Sector Review Conference here in Kampala, beyond feasibility studies for the planned construction of the oil pipeline.
Make the life of the investors, make the life of the operators as easy as possible. so that we can work quickly, so that we can move equipment quickly, mobilize drilling rig quickly, adapt ourselves, because time is money in this business. We have huge daily costs. The faster we can work, the cheaper the barrel we produce. Okay. And so the more benefit and the more taxes for the country. That's really the keys which are in the hand of the government.
On completion of the feasibility study now being undertaken by Japanese Toyota Tissue Corporation, at least $4 billion will be needed for the construction of an oil pipeline.
As far as this project for the pipeline for the export of the crude oil in this region to international market is very, very important, we know. So I'm pleased to take a part of this huge project, and I believe that our study will be really the beginning for the implementation of and realization of this project.
Kenya, South Sudan and Rwanda are among the regional economies that are being brought on board on both the oil refinery and pipeline projects.
And this is a very critical project, ladies and gentlemen, because it is the foundation of effective monetization of oil and gas in our countries.
However, the Ministry of Energy defends itself against accusations of slow approach towards faster production, saying that building of sector consensus remains key.
We are going to look at the midstream infrastructure development, that is the refinery, the crude oil pipeline, and the other pipelines associated with transportation of crude and refined products within Uganda.
Government is also yet to announce the tender for the construction of an oil refinery from the two contenders, SK Group from South Korea and Russia's RT Global Resources.
Now, while mobile-based money transactions afford convenience, the platform is increasingly becoming a target for fraudsters. And in this week's Insight, we discuss some of the ways how mobile-based transactions are being linked into.
Have you received a message that looks like one for mobile money, indicating that you have been sent cash erroneously? It might be authentic, but more often than not, nowadays, it's a message from a fraudster.
If we have all participated in wedding ceremonies here and there, if you're wedding, you can draft a message. Maybe you say Peter and John, or you say John Mary, you clog it to John Mary, and that's a header, and then you invite people for a wedding. So it's the same way someone will draft a message for mobile money. And these days, because of transition of mobile money across different networks, you can be on M-Center and you can send money on using a UTL line, you can receive mobile money. So once this message is drafted, it is sent out. You have received so much. You could refer to the example that we just looked at. We received 950,000 on your mobile money this. And if they are sending for mobile money, sending maybe to a red line or orange, then they will put a token key. That key can be generated, can be concocted. Then once that message comes in, immediately it follows with a call. You receive a call and someone will call you when he's in haste or is in trouble. He will say, I'm in Mulago right now. My mother is admitted. Unfortunately, we're trying to send money to someone so that he can assist them. We entered the wrong digit and it went to your number. Please assist me if you are there. Just run to the nearest mobile, use your money, send it.
In order to avoid being defrauded, whatever the agency the other person on the other end of the line has, you must do some homework before you take the decision to send money.
Every time you are to transact, before you send money, before you receive money, establish your balance. If you can't establish your balance, don't risk to transact, because you cannot know the actual balance as compared to the pseudo balance. Because he will send you that message and then will later write down that your balance is maybe 1 million so much.
Unfortunately, apprehending the caller, if he or she is a fraudster, will materialize if you have actually been defrauded, and not just because of the message received, legally speaking.
If you have just received the message and you have not yet been hit, that's an attempt. There is always a thin line in tracing the intentions and the attempts. For those instances, it's always good to be preventive, I would say. It's going to be preventive, because it will be like if you see a thief walking nearby your fence, you run to report to the police. Yeah, okay, you can run, but you may not find him there the next day. But where they are broken in and you become a victim, you report.
At most, report to the police or the Uganda Communications Commission. That fraudster's number could be blacklisted and therefore tracked going forward.
To a number of Ugandans, being able to save is normally associated with one having a lot of excess cash. However, according to financial experts, even low-income earners can make good savings under what is known as group arrangement. Savings clubs are the focus of this segment today. To a number of Ugandans, being able to save is normally associated with one having a lot of excess cash. However, according to financial experts, even low-income earners can make good savings, especially under the group arrangement. Savings clubs are the focus of this segment today.
We have people who are either in the salary earners space. We have clubs that actually, family clubs, members of family coming together to say we're setting up a club. We've had people who are coming from the same origin, probably they're from the same locality, either village or some area in this town. We have had traders who say, as a team of traders working in this particular geographical area or this particular area, we want to form up a club. So it is unlimited. What is important is the unifying factor should be really what you have in common.
Savings clubs simply involve groups of individuals pooling resources together with a goal to invest in a particular venture.
We have biannual forums. These are forums where all the other clubs gather. They meet, they share challenges, they network in terms of appreciating what each one is doing and probably see if they can tap some opportunities from whatever they are doing. They are given financial literacy and guidelines. We also connect them to mentors, potential mentors and mentors who probably are in place and have gone through different areas of investments.
And belonging to this club not only instills a spirit of financial discipline, but also has other benefits.
We appreciate the fact that they actually grow with time, and we've put aside a lending offering whereby we offer them up to 150% of their total savings. As long as they've been able to save for 6 months, minimum of 6 months, we can actually be able to offer them a loan to add on their capital to be able to effectively invest in a particular identified investable venture.
Investment clubs stand a big advantage when it comes to borrowing.
We've had people who've come together to save to even up to a tune of 800 million, 1 billion shillings. A case in place are people who are currently into tree planting. They've got miles and miles of trees now far away in Buruli. And we've seen them actually receiving carbon credits as I speak now.
And the fear of working together for the purpose of saving money has kept many Ugandans under abject poverty. Financial experts also say that the problem hinges on the general lack of market information.
Investable ventures are a little bit challenging in this country. Basically, I think it's because of lack of knowledge. People do not know where to put their money. So you see savings coming up and eventually they disappear. When you go to investigate, you realize that they either went and bought a piece of land in a swamp and all that money has disappeared. And that's why, as a bank, we've deliberately decided to bring consultants who are going to take these groups to coaches, people who are experts in different investable areas, so that they're able to safeguard their money.
And this week's entrepreneur, Arnold Sezi, is a multifaceted businessman. He opted to take the unconventional route and try out his hand at several businesses at the same time. And through determination and passion, he has managed to see them work. He shares with us his journey in business.
Not considering where he would finally end up, Sezi Arnold's career started out like your usual everyday one.
Went to Coventry University, did IT business, came back with this whole notion of work. So I first tried out other jobs, like legitimate jobs. So I did at, I call them legitimate jobs because of 9-to-5 structure. So I did at Confidential, East Africa Confidential, and at The Reporter, where I was basically an administrator.
However, his personality, passion, and affiliation somewhat altered the path of his destiny. This is how he found himself into the world of music and fashion.
I was actually, for real, at some point I thought I was going to be a musician. So I was like, let me try rapping. So a friend of mine introduces me to Raw Records. I go in, do a little freestyle. They're like, okay, yeah, you can rap. But as we started hanging out together, like it became more clear maybe my skill set was for the administration side. So we got together, we decided, like, let's get out of the whole front of the media, let's just do the background, let's do the pipeline, make sure artists get what they deserve, let's make sure the industry works.
But it did not end at that. With a clothing line XP Africa already underway, he had to find a way of juggling it with his studio entity, Raw Records.
We're like, all right, let's do a video. We wanted to shoot a really good video for Raw Records. So in between there, we're like, all right, cool. How do we get the clothes? How do we make it authentic? So we decided, can't we just make our own clothes? So that was like the first test. With the foundation running, the record label running, and the clothes line running, we realized slowly by slowly these companies actually have a synergy and they support each other.
But even with this synergy and ability to make the two companies work, Sezi had to figure out how to make the two entities viable.
When it comes to the finances, each company runs separately. So there are different budgets for each company. Like XP Clothing Africa, we have sponsors we work with. When it comes to Raw Records, we do not use that many sponsors as much, but when it comes to a big project, we invite in sponsors to take part also. But most of the time, we keep it in-house.
Having managed to start up a clothing line with only 1 million initial startup capital and taken on a record label business, Sezi may come across as someone that has it all figured out. But because of the form that his businesses take on, he too has run into his fair share of obstacles.
Selling your vision to a third party. Most people are stuck in a mode of thought that we can only do what we have seen happen, or that is not possible. Now telling someone we want to do something sounding impossible, but we're willing to make it possible. It's usually hard for a third party.
But for Sezi, these obstacles are nothing but stepping stones, and he has a vision to see his business expand beyond Uganda, and he has plans to open up shop in Rwanda by next year. And unlike many other entrepreneurs, here at the top of his list of priorities is charity, and through his $1 foundation, gives $1 of the proceeds of his businesses back to the community. This is one entrepreneur whose journey is only just beginning.
Let us now take a look at what's latest from the equity markets world. That was Money Matters this week. Thank you for watching. My name is Malcolm Seme. In case you need to get back to us, text us at 6565 or look for NTV Money Matters on Facebook and send us your comments and views. Otherwise, enjoy your viewing.